So Francis, insurance, I believe that it's probably one of the most transformational financial tools that we have in the market to address climate change. Can you explain a bit to us what do you see as the unique role of insurance across the board?
Well, insurance has traditionally played an integral role in sending risk signals. You know, whether it's fire, whether it's automobile, whether it's homeowners, whether it's running a business, the role that insurance plays in society and the economy is to, one, have the data to understand the frequency and severity of risk, and two, the actuarial science to actually put a price on whether that's going to happen or not. That's a very powerful risk signal. And it really helps people understand, wow, I'm about to do something very risky, or I can manage my economic exposure to that. So when we look at climate, I agree with you completely, Jorge. I think the insurance sector has an absolutely integral role to play, both in helping insure in a rather traditional way in terms of paying claims after events, but I also think we can find ways to start setting those risk signals earlier so that we're actually helping communities and individuals, businesses, families reduce their exposure to climate risk before the event actually happens.
And in that space of reducing the risk, investing in adaptation, can you give us an example, something that comes first to your mind as a good idea of?
So there are new models around insurance, and there's a term, people call it forecast-based finance or anticipatory. I prefer anticipatory finance, where there are some companies out there that have actually developed products, and they're sensed as insurance products, where they actually pay out before the event. So if you statistically know that at some point this event is going to turn into something that would have been insured, you can actually put money in people's hands before the event so that they can spend that money to protect their families, their businesses, their cattle, their farms, whatever it is, but they can take steps before. And I think not only in the climate and the humanitarian context, but there's an entire industry building up called InsurTech, where a lot of the technological tools are trying to find other ways for the insurers to do the same thing in traditional coverages.
And so I'm sure that there are a lot of companies, some companies are already doing that. Why do you think more companies are not doing that, and how to actually make them do more?
Yeah, well, first, it's not easy, right? Particularly, it's a mindset shift to go from paying a claim after an event to making a claim never happen, right? It's a very different mindset shift. So you do have a number of industry leaders finding ways to make the analytics available, for example, to communities and countries and businesses so that they can take the steps possible. I think the reason we haven't scaled it yet is because we're still in that transitionary phase, like I think most of the world is, in terms of trying to finance the transition, defining our role as helping to finance and ensure the transition to a low carbon economy or net zero economy, and actually making that shift to the adaptation side. And that's what is interesting in these hallways, is you're hearing a lot more that, hey, we need to balance this, right? It's not just a transition, and let's not just run really fast on how fast we can reduce emissions. We got to start running fast about how we can protect communities. So I think the insurance sector is also in that same transitionary phase.
So if we can end on a positive note, do you think this?
It's all been positive, all right, come on.
An even more positive zone. Do you think this is the moment to actually make that shift for the insurance sector?
When you look at the global focus now on risk reduction, it's palpable. I mean, the G7 Global Shield is a great example where the G7 has said, wow, we got to do something about adaptation, and we need to scale it, we need to accelerate it, we need to take this much more seriously than we have. And you're seeing that with other agencies. I've heard over and over again in the hallways here, this discussion about loss and damage really moving towards a disaster risk reduction and adaptation kind of mentality. So I'd say the context in which we're operating, the government, the civil society, NGOs, I think there's more and more momentum in that direction. And the data that we have and the expertise we have is going to facilitate that. So yeah, I think the time is now for the insurance industry to lead in this space. We have the expertise. We've just got to find a different and new way, which we've done in the past, Jorge, a different and new way to take that expertise and make it available to the decision makers.
Well, thank you, Francis, for your partnership.
All right, thank you.
Great to talk with you.